2023 to order. Please rise if you're able and join for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, has council had the opportunity to review the meeting minutes of September 5th? If so, I'll ask for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Motion from Robin, second from Becky. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Any changes to this evening's agenda? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the set agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second?
Motion from Rick, second from Robin. Those in favor may state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Guests in open forum. Seeing no one for guests in open forum, we'll move into committee reports. EDA.
EDA, we met last Monday. One of our main items was what we have on 9B tonight, so we won't steal the thunder there. We had a monthly market report, had some other project updates, and then we also discussed kind of the in-flight items during Renee's transition.
Okay. Public Works, we met, I believe, last week, and we discussed some street equipment. The John Deere tractor is on our agenda for this evening, so that will be coming up. I won't steal that thunder. In wastewater, we discussed we're staying current on the PFAS sampling and testing and the comp plan and how it's all revolving. So we're keeping up to date on that information. And then there's also the SLA, which we discussed in great detail, and that is also on our agenda for later today. So we'll await those. How about personnel?
Personnel, we met yesterday. We just talked briefly about some benefit renewals and job update description, so that's about it. We'll see that stuff at a later date at our next meeting, so that's it.
All right, Fire Board, we met last evening. We had 28 calls for the month of August. There are 2 open firefighter positions, and those will be coming available within the next couple of weeks. And then we also just are keeping up to date on our transition over to RedPath and our new server. So we're just making sure everything is kept and retained at that time. So how about Park and Rec?
Park and Rec met last night. We voted in a new commission member, which was nice because it has been vacant for quite a while.
Is that Truda's position?
Correct.
Wow.
Who's your new member?
His name is Aaron Ashleman.
Okay.
It was the first time I've met him. He has young kids interested in sports, lots of involvement. For our guests in open forum, we had Josh Rosigner speak about the baskets at the city.
Disc golf?
Thank you. I wanted to say golf, and I know that's not right.
Pretty sure it's now.
Yeah. But we're looking to get those upgraded, and he was able to secure a $5,000 donation from Becker Lions. We had a long discussion about Colbinger Park and what we want to see there. The commission would like to see it stay as a skate park with a skate park option anyway, and we're looking at different design options, seeing what we can get going there. We talked about putting internet in at the city park building. Sometimes we have groups who need to use computers and stuff there, and that we would like them to have that option. We would also like to have the option to have cameras and such in the future if that's what we decide we need. We talked about the community park. The play equipment will be getting installed in the next 2 weeks. The pavilion is starting this fall and will finish in the spring. We've got Barktoberfest coming in October. And the gym project at the community center, the painting will start on Thursday till the end of next week. Then the floor will be installed in the hoops, and they hope to be done by the end of October.
All right.
And that was it.
Yeah, that's a busy committee.
It was a big meeting. Yeah.
Any other committees? All right, if not, we're going to move into board committee and consultant reports. John Deere's 6120 front 3-point upgrade. Corey Butin.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you tonight, I have RCA and Resolution 2389 for the replacement and upgrade for a front 3-point and PTO system. During the 2022-23 plow season, we noticed a crack in our current front 3-point and PTO. This piece of hardware lets us use the tractor with a Metal Plus snow pusher to clean out cul-de-sacs throughout the city. We also have a front mount snow blower that we use to remove other various items throughout the city. The use of these attachments with the factory 3-point has put some additional stresses on these items. During the season, we noticed 2 cracks in the casting and brought it to a fabrication contractor for repair. After the completion of the snow season, we noticed another crack in a different location. I started researching through John Deere and other sources for some solutions to our issue. I came across the Zoidberg front 3-point and PTO system that you guys have in front of you. This system addresses all the concerns that I have with our current factory setup and then some. Some of them are we would gain 25% more PTO horsepower, which puts us more in the middle of the required horsepower range for the snowblower. A much more robust attachment system that carries the weight of the attachments further back into the frame of the tractor. An additional push bar and torque reducing system that carries pushing forces to the rear of the tractor, where it's much more suited to handle these kinds of forces that are similar to pulling a plow through a field. Actually, there's a picture of that. It's the underside of the tractor. You can see it carries the weight and all those forces all the way back. Since John Deere is an authorized dealer, they'd be installing it, and then we would retain the factory warranty that is provided by Zoidberg. At this point, replacing the factory system with a new factory system, at this point, repairing or replacing the factory system with a new factory system wouldn't address some of the shortcomings that I'm seeing. The equipment upgrades I'm proposing would add some longevity to the life of our tractor and provide better efficiencies. The equipment upgrades to the John Deere 6120 tractor and the reason for its need has been discussed with the Public Works Committee. The committee felt this upgrade would improve the performance to our snow removal operations, and this item should go before council consideration. We are recommending using funds from the excess dirt sales to cover the cost of the upgrade. Currently, this account has $65,981 in it, with an additional $18,000 to $20,000 in pending invoices from recent sales. I'm asking for a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2389, allowing staff to proceed with the upgrades to the hitch for the John Deere 6120 tractor for the quoted price of $23,299.33 and not to exceed $25,700. I can answer any questions if anybody has any. Thank you for your time.
How does council wish to proceed?
You're not done yet?
Yeah,
No, you have
it's
questions.
okay.
I'm new.
Any questions? Otherwise, I'll ask council how you wish to proceed on it.
I don't know if I can vote for it.
Oh my God, make him stand up there longer.
Sweat pouring down.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution. Resolution 2089 to allow staff to proceed with the front hitch upgrade.
I'll second.
Motion from Rick, second from Becky. Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Now you can leave. Thank you. All right, well 7 and 8 pilot study. Mr. Listen.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I have before you an RCA and Resolution 2390 for the Well 7 and 8 pilot study project. So as you know, we added Wells 7 and 8, Well House 4 and the transmission line into the city. We started using those this summer as hopefully our solution to our current water needs. As we went into that, we did know when we drilled these wells that the water quality was slightly different than what we have in the city wells. As we try to use 7 and 8 kind of at their full potential, roughly 500 gallons a minute each. We quickly started seeing some water quality issues, especially on the east side of the river. So we started working with SEH to kind of determine, okay, what's going on? How can we operate these wells? Is there a way to operate them currently and not have those issues? The biggest things we saw were kind of the yellowish-orange water. So the iron in the water wasn't staying sequestered, and it was coming out, and people were seeing it in their tap and coming out in their tubs and those kind of things. So another issue as we were using well 7 and 8, we started to see is all of a sudden we started to see a lot of bubbles in the water. We noticed that at the wastewater facility, a lot of times that's air, right? You got a leak somewhere, you're pulling air in, you're seeing that dissolved in the water. We kind of went through, worked with SEH, worked with contractors, tried to figure out like where could we be pulling air in? How are we getting a leak? John Thom from SEH, he's kind of their water guru. He got involved, and the idea was brought up, well, maybe this isn't air, this could be something else. So we did, theory was it could be carbon dioxide that could be dissolved in the water in the well itself as we're drawing it out of the ground. And as we're pulling it through the pumps and pushing it into the system, that CO2 is coming out of this out and we're seeing it as bubbles. We did do some testing, that was confirmed. So between a little bit of the issue where right now with the quality of the water, we're not able to fully utilize wells 7 and 8 to their full potential. They were designed for 500 gallons a minute each. Right now, well 8 essentially we can't use. If we put well 8 in there, we very quickly see water quality issues, especially on the east side of the river. Well 7, we were able to use it at 350 gallons a minute to kind of help supply water this summer, but that's much less than the 500 we were hoping for from the design. So right now I'd say kind of where we sit with those two wells is 8 is pretty much kind of just mothballed at the moment. Well 7 we could kind of use as an emergency backup, but it's not, in its current state, would not be something I would say is what we had hoped it would be. Let's say it that way. One thing to mention with the CO2, in researching that, it is not anything that is an issue as far as safety of the water. So it's the research that I did is you can drink it in that, it's more of an aesthetic thing. So you see it, plus it can be, because it has the ability to kind of change pH of the water, it is not helping us sequester the iron that's in the water. So we add chemical to kind of bind the iron up so we don't see it. The CO2 kind of counteracts that, and so we have that forces fighting each other. As we worked with SEH, a suggestion that came from John is, well, we do pilot studies. So basically we can bring in a trailer that has different testing methods. We could do that pilot test, and we could help determine how we could, one, remove the CO2, and then how we could remove iron and manganese from those wells. If we did that, then you would be able to use both 7 and 8 to their full potential. So before you tonight is that proposal from them. We did discuss this with our Public Works Committee. The committee did say we should bring it to council for consideration. As far as cost for this, how we pay for this, we did come in under budget for that total project. So we would propose that we use remaining funds that were already approved for that project to pay for this pilot study. The idea would be this gives us information to see what the potential next step would be with that well house, those two wells. Once we have that information, then we can start thinking about what is the next step and what the costs are associated with that. Would it be treatment and additional wells there, and we kind of take that step, or do we potentially look at other things and those stay as kind of an emergency backup? So, but until we have this information, it's hard to know which way we should go. With that, I can answer questions, or I would ask for a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2390, allowing staff to hire SEH to complete the pilot study as described in their professional services agreement for a price not to exceed $35,300.
So just thinking, when we put those out there, how many acres did we get from the Olson, that we purchased from Olson Farm?
175.
175?
75, okay.
Okay. Assuming that's not big enough, should we say that these just aren't gonna work, you know, it's gonna be too cost inhibitive to anything we can do? I'm assuming we wouldn't be able to punch wells on that property, that'd be too close, it'd be the same tap, or would that still be a potential?
There's a couple other sites that when we did that initial exploration could have potential for wells, but we didn't do a test well and do any quality testing. So that's something we've discussed as a staff would be a step two to have somebody do a test well, maybe to the north, there was a spot that was identified, and see if the water quality is any different or the same. So we are doing that. The water comp plan update does include looking at potentially the other side of 10. We've kind of stayed away from that because that's weather protection, that's not ideal. But at least we're looking to see if there's possibilities. I mean, the whole thing here is we didn't find that final solution, or at least our current solution. So what's our next step, and what's the cost related with that, and where we go? So we want to kind of give as many options as we can, so that between us and council, we can make that next decision for Becker as far as its water supply.
Yeah, the testing is probably the most important piece, like right now, just to find out what's in there and how to counteract it if we can.
Yep. I mean, part of that agreement is if they would find what kind of testing potentially could remove those two different, I mean, the focus is iron and carbon dioxide. They have manganese included as well, because that's usually iron and manganese pretty common in water in Minnesota. But once we know what method we could use, then we can kind of get an idea for costs related to how many gallons these wells could produce, and or if we added 2 more wells, because that well house was designed for 4 wells. That was always the idea, that we'd have a well field producing a large volume of water for the city. So just right now, we can't use them to that full potential yet. We can, but then we have some issues, people, it's aesthetic. It's not anything to do with their safety as far as the water quality that way. But bubbles are not something people are used to, and or yellow water gives people pause, so.
I'll make a motion approving resolution 29-90, allowing staff to hire SEH to complete a pilot study as described in the professional services agreement for the price not to exceed $35,300.
I'll second.
Motion from Becky, second from Rick. On clarification, is it 2390 or 2990? Just want to make sure we have the correct motion. 2390, okay, perfect. Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye. Aye. Opposed, carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Administrator and staff reports. Police in-squad camera purchase. Chief Balloon.
Mayor and council, good evening. As you know, we have cameras in each of our squad cars, our 4 full-time squad cars, with a contract through Axon. That was created back in 2018, and tonight I'm here to renew the contract, or get approval to renew. The contract actually renews in October, so we're just ahead of the gun here. The only change in the contract that is occurring right now is a gap coverage as part of this contract. We will not be able to get the new equipment until middle of next year because of demand. So we are still under, with the new contract, we'd still have coverage. So what is also provided under the contract is they will actually come here and install the cameras for us into the squad cars. So that is a benefit. They know the equipment, and they will install it for us. Hopefully things will go well, but we have to wait until they get the equipment until we can get that installed. So that being said, we will actually be getting Fleet 3, what is called Fleet 3 versus what we have right now is Fleet 2. Our system thankfully has worked, pretty well over the course of the 5 years that we've had it. So this new system, obviously updated, has better optics for night vision and stuff like that. But again, it just provides the police department with another view or perspective of an incident occurring in front of us from the squad car. Integrates well with our current body camera system or evidence.com. So for management purposes and stuff like that, it's really, I don't think there's any question. It's turned out to be a great system for us. So I told them to sharpen their pencils initially, and so we've actually budgeted in our CIP $37,323 for the replacement and renewal of the contract. They came in at $36,742.96, so slightly under, which is great. So with that in mind, I'd be looking for a motion and second to approve resolution 2391, authorizing myself to renew the contract with Axon for 5 years and the installation of new in-squad equipment for the quoted amount of $36,742.96.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2391, authorizing the chief to renew the contract with Axon for 5 years and the installation of new in-squad camera equipment for the quoted amount of $36,742.96.
I'll second.
Motion from Robin, second from Rick. Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Awesome. Thank you.
First Children's Finance Rural Child Care Innovation Program Memo of Agreement Approval. Mr. Sanders, and I think you made that super long so you could
Say
make it
that
all
10
the way
times
from the other
fast.
room.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Right. That was the goal.
that was, well, you achieved. Yes, good job.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Before you tonight, we have a memo of understanding for the First Children's Finance Rural Child Care Innovation Program. So over the last few months, Renee has been working on this, and with her departure, this will kind of, it'll remain in the department, but take over responsibilities as the core team leader. As childcare is one of these things, and in community is a economic driver. You know, with jobs and COVID and other things, there was a lot of increase in childcare and a need for that. The First Children's Finance, we did apply for this, and we were granted that. It's a no-cost program. It's an 18 to 24-month program that's with the city. There will be a core team of individuals throughout the community that are involved in that, and cross-jurisdictionally, so the county, the city, local residents, the Initiative Foundation, and others that are all at the table. So it's a group of people that come together that will kind of drive some of that. But First Children's Finance will provide, they'll provide some thorough analysis of the childcare gaps. They'll provide some resources that they have to boost local existing services, as well as see what the needs are for new services as well. So again, it's anticipated to take a couple months. The memo of understanding is for a 2-year period, just to maximize that. Legal has reviewed this memo of understanding, and as EDA did approve the resolution 2303 to approve the memo of agreement, so they did recommend approval of that at their last meeting as well. So there's no fiscal impacts to the city. Again, want to reiterate that because that's always an important thing. The staff time. The hope too is that this will be really a self-sustaining group. The people at the table will be able to kind of drive a lot of that as well. So a lot of what city staff will be involved in is coordinating a lot of those efforts with First Children's Finance. So with that, we're seeking for a motion and second approving resolution 2393 for the memo of agreement for the Rural Child Care Innovation Program. And as one note, in the memo of understanding, it shows Renee Regal, but that will be changed to my contact information. And with that, I will answer any questions.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2393, approving the memo of agreement for the Rural Child Care Innovation Program.
I'll second.
Motion from Rick, second from Becky. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I threw you off with the long term.
Yep. Establish 2024 preliminary levies. Mr. Ebensteiner.
You didn't wear the suit this year.
I didn't. I got razzed enough last year. I just don't wear the tie. I learned well.
Still kept the tie, though.
I kept the tie. I had to dust some of them off. It's been a while since I've dressed up. All right. Set up here. Okay, well, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members and those in the audience. My name is Mark Ebensteiner, Finance Director, City of Becker. So tonight I'm presenting the preliminary 2024 budget. Following my presentation, we'll ask council to consider a resolution adopting the preliminary levy for 24. We have had several executive sessions with City Council and really did a deep dive into the details, talked about priorities and the budget, and really tonight's presentation is more of a summary of those work sessions. So starting off, this chart summarizes the property tax levies based on the proposed preliminary budget. So the city's total levy, $10,153,148, is an increase of around $340,000 or 3.46% from 2023. We are a service-oriented business, so some of the significant items relate to our employees, including a 4% general wage increase with step increases as scheduled, and an anticipated 10% healthcare benefit increase. As a reminder, the EDA levy is capped at a percentage of our estimated market value. So as we get more final numbers from the county, we'll revise that EDA levy from there. As part of that overall levy, we do have the capital levy. So here's a summary of that capital levy at $3,013,732. It is broken out as noted on the slide. Largest portion relates to public works and streets. Each of these levies, there's really a lot of detail behind it. So we look at our 5 to 10 year capital plan, and then we levy more rather than on a specific project basis. It's more of a levy that provides support for that overall plan with adequate reserves. So one item to note, the facility project that we're currently discussing, as that moves forward, we would look at making an equity contribution from the 2024 capital levy, so as that does move forward. And then also note, we are proposing to discontinue the land purchase levy. We did sell some land here in 2023, and we would propose to pay off the assessments that are currently being paid with that land purchase levy. So looking at the tax capacity rates, after we do identify that levy amount, the additional portion really to determine the tax rate would be the taxable market value and then the related net tax capacity. So each year we do have some large property tax owners that do appeal their valuation. So initially, a lot of times we'll look at a conservative approach. We're not sure where those numbers will come in at. This year we did have our largest property taxpayer, Northern States Power. They did settle in early August. And they were down about 4.8%. The other two large owners, Connexus Energy and Great River, they're still unsettled, so we should get those numbers here soon. So with the revised figures, the city's preliminary tax capacity rate is at 45.9%, a 0.974 increase from the prior year of 44.926. And then the EDA levy is capped, so currently it's at 1.173. I would expect that to drop slightly based on where those total estimated market values are coming in at. And then that denominator, that tax capacity, that's estimated to increase about 1.2%. To 21,658,633, but those are preliminary numbers. That's just the best information that we have from Sherburne County now, and as they go through all that information and propose those finals. As we get the finals from the state assessed property, we'll continue to update those figures. So this chart just kind of summarizes, that numerator and the denominator. We have total taxes that need to be generated. We've identified the 10,153,000, that 3.4% increase, and then we have the total tax capacity that's available to then generate that levy. So that went up approximately 1.2%. So with that, the net levy increased slightly more than the tax capacity, so we do see a slight uptick in the proposed tax rate, up from 46.048 to 47.074. This chart here just summarizes the overall tax capacity, tax levy, and combined tax rate for the last 4 years, and then the proposed 24. As you can see, we've experienced some increase in tax capacity, increase in tax levy, and we have seen the tax rate increase over the last 5 years. A city of our size, we have experienced a lower tax rate than similar size cities. So, that uptick is something we're monitoring, keeping an eye on where our tax capacity is at. And as everybody knows, with the Sherco decommissioning over the next, we'll have one at the end of this year and a couple more over the next decade. We'll continue to monitor those and make decisions on how city services are provided and how that fits into our overall levy and tax capacity. The question that everybody's looking to answer is, how does this impact our residential and commercial property owners? So on the residential side, just based on the change in tax rate, with no change in value, we would expect to see about a 2.2% increase in the city's portion of taxes payable. So in this example, a $300,000 house with no change in value would see around a $30 annual increase. With that, what we're seeing from the county is right around a 3% increase is what they're expecting on a lot of residential homes. So on a 3% increase for that same $300,000 house, value of $309,000. You do lose out on a little bit of that homestead exclusion down to $9,400, so you would see a slight increase up to $1,410 annually, about $76 or 5.7%. So now to break that out, in this example, just shows a breakout of where that monthly or where a monthly payment would go. We do collect twice a year from the county, but on a monthly basis, a average home or a $350,000 market value home would pay right around $1,621 per year, about $135 per month. The largest portion of that would go to provide support for general government, public safety, and public works. We do have our capital improvement levy, which adds value, streets, parks, buildings, and infrastructure. Debt service, we have borrowed some money to fund our street improvement project, so about $14 per month. Special revenue funds, there is a levy that supports the community center, and then the EDA levy of $337. On the commercial industrial side, very similar to the residential. In this example, if we looked at the $3 million market value property, with no change in value, would see an increase of 2.2%, $608, about $51 per month. That same property with a 3% increase up to around $3.1 million would see an increase of 5.3%, about $121 per month. And that same property at a 10% increase would increase about 12.6% or $286 per month. So then to summarize some of those impacts, kind of took a lot of that information from those charts, put it in a small summary. So a residential property with a 3% increase, about a 5.3% change in combined tax, increase of $111 or about $9.24 per month. Commercial property, looked at a slightly larger commercial property here, $7.6 million value with a 10% increase. Would see around a 12.5% increase, about $724 per month. And then on the utility side, so we do have that large portion that is state assessed. So about $735 million of that state assessed value, which we did see that decrease this year, would see a decrease in their overall taxes paid of $177,000. But really the key takeaway here I wanted to present was just the value of that state assess, making up almost 65% of our total taxes paid. And then we have the residential at less than 0.02%, and then those commercial buildings at less than 1%. So that state assessed property still drives our tax capacity, drives our tax receipts. With that, transition aid will be a big piece of that as we transition our tax capacity, and that backfills that. We'll have additional conversations on where that transition aid fits in, how that affects our tax levy, city services provided, and then the related tax rate. So just wanted to summarize all those key points there. So with that, I have Resolution 2392 setting the preliminary levies for the city and EDA, and also would set the public hearing, truth and taxation meeting for December 5th at 6 p.m. And with that, I can answer any questions, but would look for that motion and second for that resolution.
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2392, setting the proposed 2024 property tax levies for the city of Becker.
Second.
Motion from Robin, second from Rick. Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Consent agenda, Mr. LaRude.
Mayor Bertram, City Council members, the only item on tonight's consent agenda is a hiring and termination report for Becker Community Center.
Very light consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Motion from Rick, second from Becky. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Payment of the bills.
Motion to pay the bills.
I'll second.
Motion from Robin, second from Becky. Those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Does council have anything else for the betterment of Becker? If not, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Robin, second from Rick. Those in favor can state aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 5:35 p.m.